we have that we are misusing as a country. So therefore we need to be very cautious in terms of how our media carries stories, how we engage in the public, leaders and the common man, and also how religion is governed in this country, because we have seen, we used to look at religious extremism as just confined to Muslims, but Christianity, it seems to be worse, far more worse than that. But we have so many pastors who masquerade to be prophets and deny people to go to health services and die in their homes and give that wealth to pastors. So this is something we need to discuss and be very, very careful about. And they are hiding under the clothes of political influence because they bring crowds to politicians. And this is an issue that we need to address as a country. The media needs to be very courageous enough to speak about these issues. The Shakahola massacre, if you look at the media, the way they interrogate things, but nobody is able to have the courage to re-interrogate this. Where did this issue come about? This man started his church in 2003. For 20 years, nobody saw this. He didn't just kill people in the last 3 or 4 months. Probably this whole story started for many years. So we need to be able as a country to be able to interrogate this freedom that we have. Where have we failed as a country? And where have we gained? And how can we best move forward with the gains that we've made from this freedom? Yes.
And Nelson, looking at what our leaders have talked about, they're talking so passionately about devolution, despite the few hitches here and there and the challenges that devolution has faced in the last almost 10 years now. I would like you to touch on that in matters of devolution, how we've been able to carry ourselves. This is one form of freedom, if you ask me.
Yes. Before I comment on that, I want to commend my brother what he said. The freedoms we have misused or not rightfully used. You're in the media. Now we are in the era of fake news. If you see a media house, there are so many other versions of the same media house. And for the ignorant Kenyan doesn't know the difference. You've seen people behaving as if they are not the real people. You've seen somebody pretending to masquerade as the president Uhuru and was able to get money from somebody. You know, this is a freedom as well, we are saying. Coming to devolution, devolution has worked. From where I sit, devolution has worked. Why I would say this is because of the testimony I have from where I come from. Initially, I wouldn't go home with my car. I would have to park in that has worked for me. Over the years when I was young, growing up in Kakamega, I've seen the changes happen. When I hear about people talk about healthcare being a national matter, I feel at times not very happy because this should be devolved. Healthcare, like the president said, is not about national government or to stay in other parts of the world apart from Kenya. And I can tell you it is very sad what you see today. In most of the economies that are doing very well, healthcare is a primary thing. It's not something to discuss about whether we should take it where or goes mandatory. It's a responsibility for the government. Devolution has worked. And as you can see, the 47 units, there may be so much devolved services, but there's devolved corruption. Because it has come from national level to devolved units. And I was sitting with a friend of mine who said to me, you know, I used 400 million to campaign to be a governor. Then I was asking myself, how much is the salary of a governor?
Even if we say $1 million every month,
you cannot
make that in the
cannot make it 400 million. So what would the interest of being a governor? Spending 400 million, you can do something different with that money. Not necessarily being a governor. That means there's something hidden that you cannot read in books or write about, getting not only the public scene corruption, and start looking at the private individuals, because the elected leaders can only be made corrupt by the private. I do not think that a civil servant will corrupt another civil servant. Most likely to be a private citizen. So we still have a lot of mistrust within the two units. I want to think as a layman why the money has been collected, it's there.
Actually, I do concur because I also report from the courts, and you remember we even went to the Supreme Court because of the division of revenue counties.
Yeah, because
there was a certain amount of money, the national government says we can only give this, and not only that, there is delay in disbursement of this money.
So I don't know, when I do a transfer of M-Pesa to you, it comes immediately. If it's an RTGS, it's same day. I don't know why it's so difficult for And money from the national unit should be sent to devolved units until the governors are now saying, can we go on hold? I was watching the other day the governor for Nyeri saying, look, we are even thinking about telling the workers to not to come because we can't keep them coming at their resources. There must be something wrong that we are not addressing. Is it the bureaucracy? What is it? Because if the money is there, what is the problem of disbursing the money to the government? In the worst case scenario, why can't it be then that you collect your money, retain what you can retain, send the rest to the government? I don't know. I'm thinking as a layman. I'm trying to assume that I'm not going to school.
All right. Doc, I'd like to give you one word in terms of devolution, because you also need to predict the speech that all Kenyans are waiting for, the head of state speech. Because the one guy said that he is speech because a number of issues are dogging the country. So I'll give you some moment to reflect on devolution.
Right. I think devolution itself is a game. We must appreciate that. It is totally a game. However, as my brother has put it very well, we have devolved also corruption. Have you heard any of you who is walking around the city or in big towns where people tell you, oh, that I'm wondering, I have been earning for the last 15 years 7-digit salary. 7-digit salary, not even anyone else. 6. Not 6. And we are accepting something which is not normal and normalize it for it to be normal. And I don't know how that chain has completely accepted. So one thing we expect from the president is that the 10 years that devolution has been in existence, I guess quite a number of people who have looted county coffers and made significant gain in their wealth. These are things that are alarming. We may not even think of the national government. Perhaps bigger things are happening there, up there. But again, when it is devolved down there, and down there I look at a common person who does not understand anything about devolution, only wants basic services. Much of the drugs are not there. The drugs which are there are basic, that we buy them with 20 shilling, 10 shilling, 15 shilling. Not drugs we buy them from the pharmacies with 1,000 or 2,000 shilling. That tells you the level of their... If my C is down there, there's nothing completely, nothing going on, means there's a curtail of do them. And then of course, finally, every year you hear the Auditor General reporting cases of malpractices in the resources. But do we take any action? No, we don't. Then who is supposed to take action? EACC was established, and I think they need to take they need to change. So we expect the president to come very firm. The way he has came out when there was crisis in KEMSA over the Global Fund resources, he should also to do lifestyle audit of all people who have gone through the county management or leadership, and understand if the governor is earning give him 2 million. If the governor is earning 2 million every month, will he make 3 billion? My county governor has used 1.2 billion or 3 billion, huge amount of money. I was hearing my own constituency where I was in the race, he has used over 150 million. And now I'm just wondering, if as he has put it very well, if your salary is that, how long will it take you to do that? So that means we are opening arenas for corruption and looting of to come out family. Why we have been paying tax? Every Kenyan has been paying tax, but Kenyans are to think it is not the right time. And therefore, I think his advisors need to tell him that as much as the brilliant idea he has tabled, and it is something that we had, then we are able to, they are not going to feel the pain, and they are able to say, yes, we can tax, or can we prorate it across certain... The other thing that we expect him to tell us is the issue of politicking all through from one election time to the other election time. And on that note, I'm looking at the freedom the Constitution has given us. Are we misusing it, or we are using it as per it is required? For example, You cannot, a leader who has been involved in changing this country's constitution, issues of democracy, and then today, at age of his retirement, he says we want cessation. What is he trying to tell the young generation who is coming up? Is that this country has no control, there's nothing that controls or boundaries in terms of
the freedoms
that we have. And I tend to think even America, where this the democracy we have adapted from, don't give you that freedom leeway. Like that, leeway. And therefore, I think there's a bit of misunderstanding of the boundary lies. We are able to guide ourselves. And objectively, people must bring out issues on the table based on facts and not fiction. The other thing is, politics is not leadership or governance. Politics is about mobilizing troops so that they vote you in. The moment you are voted in, you are property of that. I think those are areas that I wanted him to look at. Above all, how we're going to open up northern frontier this during dry seasons, and then we have a lot of flash floods from Ethiopia passing through our villages, and we are not able to harvest water, and therefore all their animals or people have lost a lot of their properties, farms, product. Let him tell us how he will turn around things in order for Kenyans' basic life improve, and the cost of living that we know very well is biting now. He should also now explicitly come out what the strategies or measures he wants to put in place, which are immediate measures, intermediate measures, and long-term measures that we expect. That way we are able to think through and say, our beloved president is doing for us this, and therefore we are able to cope with the current situation and move to the next situation. So resilience is what we need.
Sure. And of course, when we come back, Crispus, we will talk about, we will wrap it up on devolution and what exactly we do expect, because Kenyans are quite expectant that the head of state will address some of these key issues, including cost of living and the finance bill that is second reading on Tuesday. And of course, we also be looking at the security challenge. Yesterday, CS Kithure Kindiki was very categorical that the government is hands-on in terms of the security challenges that we have. And we will go back in time. You do remember we had mashifters, but the government was able to deal with them ruthlessly, and now we have another emerging issue of radicalization. We will be discussing that when we come back, but first of all, let's go back to EMBU Stadium and listen to those songs.
Tuwapongeze kwa makofi tafadhali wananchi. Wimbo wao ujenzi wa taifa. Mike Getone.
Asante sana mwenzangu Ngaruya. Wanaingia sasa kufunga safu ya matumbuizo kipindi hicho. Hapo ndani kuna mzee ambaye mdadisi wangu ananiambia kwamba ana miaka 90. Na ni yeye team leader.
Huyo mzee?
Yes. Mjumbe wa hapa ana miaka ngapi?
Mbunge hapa ni kama 40 hivi ama 50.
Pale ndani,
yes,
huyo team leader,
yes,
wa Kogan Kochia,
yes,
ana miaka 90. Mjumbe hapa anaitwa
Mokonji.
Mokonji.
Yes.
Mokonji, nataka uangalie mzee yako hapo mbele. Huyo mzee ana miaka zaidi ya 90.
Yeah.
Kutoka Kogan Kochia.
Yeah.
Weka macho uwanjani Ngaruya sasa.
Asanteni sana, tuwapongeze kwa makofi, kwa makofi, kwa makofi, kwa makofi. Wanapoondoka tuwapongeze kwa makofi tafadhali. Mike Getone.
Asante sana. Nimepata ujumbe wake ndugu yangu Fanuel, ananiambia kwamba wanaitwa Kagan.
Ati wanaitwa
Kochia.
Wanaitwa
Kagan.
Very well, that has been one of the sights and sounds live from EMBU. Traditional dance group from Luo Nyanza there, taking their steps there to entertain the crowd as we wait for the chief guest, President William Ruto, who we expect to lead the 60th celebrations of Madaraka Day today. And as soon as he's there, we will be informing you as well. But also here in studio, we are reflecting on the 60 years of independence and some of the challenges and some of also what we've been able to accomplish in that time. I have Dr. Isaac Asan, I also have Engineer Crispus Wathimba, and also I have Nelson Sechere, who is the Executive Director of Veterans for Peace Kenya, where veterans have been also, we expecting a lot of veterans devolution, and what we expect the president. Of course, the finance bill is something on a lot of Kenyans' lips, but we also have a number of issues that Kenyans need addressed, and especially when it comes to the high cost of living. I would like you to touch on that.
Well, I just want to touch on the fact the solution is with us. We are not going to backtrack from that. We are not going to look behind and say, do we go that we have had devolution. What has gone for us, what has been good for us, and what has been bad for us. That which we have been very bad for us, we expect the president to be very firm and deal with it. That which has been good for us, we want the president to build on that, so that Kenya can take full advantage of the good things that are coming out of devolution. When Kibaki took over in 2003, many people didn't believe that we would have free education, and started the program without even enough resources as a country. It's how do we use or maximize the wealth that we have as a country? If we could be able to collect enough of our taxes and make sure there's less loss in terms of how we spend our taxes, we have enough for this country. One of the challenges we have is that we speak a great deal about corruption. If you look at the headlines we had over the last 10 years, there was corruption, 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 jailed, and assets recovered and taken back to the public. Very little was spoken about the fight against corruption, or fight and winning. So I hope and pray that this administration will have success stories where somebody who has been found to have stolen public resources is found culpable, is prosecuted, is punished, and those resources taken back to the public so that they can be able to help. So we hope that if this is fought, then when it comes to us asking for more taxes, it will be an easy conversation, because we can be able to trust government with our resources. But as we are now, even if you put how beautiful these levies will look in terms of what they can deliver, but we don't trust the people who are going to manage the resources, it's going to be very hard conversation. We just pray that the government can be able to be as firm as possible with this fight on corruption. Let us be able to be a country where if you're given a public position, you are satisfied and don't abuse those powers to increase your salary. Because public service does not come with a lot of perks, but it comes with a lot of power. And that power is what is being abused by people to make a lot of money. We've seen an employee of Nairobi City Council who was earning 21,000 shillings, but he used his power as a procurement officer to amass wealth reaching 500 million Kenya shilling. That is where
in less than 10 years, actually.
In less than 10 years. So that's what we're saying. This public office comes with a small pack, but it comes with a lot of power. So when you use this power for you, it's not about the salary they are going to recover their money. It's the power these offices come with. And when those power